In this video, I will tell you how Harley Quinn got pregnant by Joker without knowing it, and what eventually happened to their child. The events discussed today took place in the distant future. The world we are accustomed to has long ceased to exist, replacing the disfigured and brought to absurdity amusement park. Consider this: Atlantis was recognized as a state. Mexico was invaded by Lex Luthor and his Legion of Doom, and then renamed Lexico. The zombie apocalypse broke out in Canada, and zombies demanded equal rights with living people. Restaurants started serving human eyeballs with beef gravy. And I've only mentioned some of the minor changes. Harley Quinn is the main character of this story. We see a woman of 50 years old, not a young, a bit naive and crazy girl who once killed Penguin for his misdeeds, but a woman worn around the edges. The story begins in the Crack and Barrel bar, where Harley and her ex-husband Red Tool have a beef with the owners of the place, the intelligent squids. I'm not going to explain anything about the ex-husband because, in this version of the future, our old lady had many ex-husbands and wives, including Killer Croc, Dick Grayson, and even Catwoman Selina Kyle. Just accept that fact. So after beating SpongeBob's friends to a mummy, the couple made a hasty break for it. They headed to Coast City for some errands. On their way, they were attacked by the Laughing Boys. Or rather, they didn't attack them, but shot at them with the Monster Hurler 3000. It was a fun and deadly weapon. It fired eggs, from which huge creatures hatched and grew instantly. The monsters pounced on the hero's car and flipped it over. Harley's head snapped back, and she passed out, and Red Tool pulled her out of the wrecked vehicle. The Laughing Boys approached the characters. They greeted them and sent regards from Joker. There was one problem, though. Joker was long dead. Red Tool decided not to wait for things to turn into a bloodbath. He grabbed his friend and tactically retreated using his jumping legs. Harley, on the other hand, became thoughtful. Is Joker actually dead? Heroes with villains had been resurrected before. What could prevent this from happening to Mr. J? Therefore, it was decided to go to the most suitable place for the search: Gotham. The city was an eerie sight. There was not a single person on the streets. Our couple of assholes were immediately met by Azrael himself. Harley greeted her old buddy, but he twisted her arm and declared a curfew violation. Turns out, everyone in Gotham was forbidden to leave their homes after a certain time. Red Tool promptly opened fire on Azrael, and Harley blew his head off with a bat. It appeared that there was only a robot in front of them. They were immediately jumped on by a mob of pseudo-Azrael, rounded up, and dragged off to Batman's lair. The owner showed up in front of them in no time, and after a brief conversation, he almost strangled Red Tool, who in fact even liked it. It turned out that the man in front of them was not Bruce Wayne, but an advanced so-called corporeal hologram capable of physical actions. A moment later, the actual Batman appeared, who looked more like Darth Vader. Bruce decided to maximize his effectiveness. He merged with the Batcomputer, his army of robots, and all automated systems. This allowed him to completely take over all of Gotham and bring the crime rate down to zero. Harley asked about the possible return of Joker, yet Bruce said that it was impossible because he would be the first to know about this possibility. He advised talking to Catwoman, who had been by the Joker's side at the time of his death. Selina was staying at the crazy retired criminal's house. I mean, all kinds of people were there. Many retired famous and unknown villains lived out their days with flair here. Victor Zsasz, Mr. Freeze, Clayface, and others. They had all the amenities provided by Bruce Wayne. Harley quickly found Selina. She had gone a bit gaga, so she was being cared for by her husband, Killer Croc, Quinn's ex-hubby. Harley asked to describe what happened on the day of Joker's death, but the couple only knew about it in brief detail. It all took place in Vegas. The villain sprayed his gas and was attacked by the Justice League. Joker was followed by Lobo himself. Selina and Croc didn't know the rest. So Harley headed to Vegas. Her friends were also traveling with her, in addition to Red Tool. It was decided to use a teleporter for faster travel. However, the Laughing Boys used the Transporter Scrambler 3000 and transported the group to Bloodhaven Prison, which was inhabited by creepy scumbags led by Four-Face. They attacked our characters and knocked them out after a brutal scuffle. Harley and Red Tool woke up in a miserable parody of the Thunderdome, where death matches were held. They were confronted by the Bane twins, who started smashing our characters like rag dolls. At the last moment, Bane appeared and quickly put his children in their place. However, the surprises didn't end there. A bunch of men with guns ran into the room and delivered Harley to Barbara Gordon. Well, not exactly delivered. Barbara became kind of like Bruce Wayne. She merged with the Oracle system and became omnipresent. She confirmed that Lobo would be the one to reveal the truth about the Joker's death. After that, Barbara transported all the heroes to Vegas with the power of thought. Lobo has changed. He got fat and bald. After he made himself look presentable, everyone went to the club. Harley asked him what he knew about the Joker's death. Turns out that the day Mr. J died, Lobo was on his trail. Aquaman followed him to talk him out of the murder. There was smoke everywhere, and the two superheroes had almost killed each other by accident. Due to poor visibility, Aquaman heard some sound behind him, turned around sharply, and accidentally chopped off the Joker's head with his trident. Lobo took the blame, as Aquaman could not allow himself to be seen as a murderer. Mr. J himself was buried in the new Atlantis. The heroes got some cool disguises and pills that allowed them to breathe underwater and set off to their goal. There was a summit in the new Atlantis. Harley and her friends knocked out the guards and went into the office of Aquaman, Lex Luthor, Power Girl, and a representative from the zombies. There, they were attacked by the Joker's minions, who poisoned the sea creatures with his toxin, turning them into their insane allies. In the turmoil, the bandits captured Harley and delivered her to the living Joker. In the meantime, all over the world, his minions launched an attack on all living creatures, wreaking havoc and destruction. They attacked everyone indiscriminately and sprayed gas that killed people in the blink of an eye. In Gotham, Batman realized it was time for drastic measures. He activated the Batcave, turning it into a giant robot, and began searching for Joker to finally destroy him. Meanwhile, Harley's backup, Killer Croc, Red Tool, and Catwoman flew into the Joker's lair. They were aided in their search by Lex Luthor, who could instantly find anyone on the planet. Plus, Aquaman showed them the Joker's grave, which contained his long, decomposed body, albeit without his head. But then, who had kidnapped Harley? She knew the answer to that question. It was her son. It turned out that decades ago, when Quinn had reunited with Joker, he had secretly placed his seed inside her and then disappeared. Harley didn't know anything about it until the last moment, and when she gave birth, she couldn't keep the baby, knowing what a monster its father was. The child was placed in an orphanage. When Joker Jr. grew up and found out who his mother was, he disfigured his face to be like his dad and have nothing to do with his mother. During a long conversation, Harley apologized to her son and asked for forgiveness and a chance to start over. Joker Jr. forgave her and they hugged. Suddenly, the idyll was interrupted by a robot Batman coming for Joker. The Laughing Boys opened fire on him with all guns, and Harley grabbed her son and friends, after which they flew to Coast City. The city was half destroyed and abandoned by the inhabitants. In one of the basements, there was Poison Ivy, who turned into a half-tree. This is where the whole campaign planned to stay to start life anew. In the meantime, they were watched from a space station by a robotic body, which had an image of Joker on its display, and a flask containing the brains that had long ago been pulled from his severed head.